made you start the Cannabis Job Board?
I have been a coach and trainer in the cannabis industry for the past 10 years plus. I've been recruiting for about 20 plus years. I know I look good.
Nah.
But I've been recruiting for a long time. And in 2014, I got certified in the cannabis space to consult with cannabis businesses. And I did see the gap between hiring in the industry, regulation and compliance, and also being able to bring great talent from other industries into the cannabis industry and cultivating the talent that was already in the cannabis industry now that we're in a more legalized space, right? I built the Cannabis Job Board in 2015 initially, and started that journey to connect the client, the employer with the job seeker. And I really played with it, to be honest with you, in this journey. I know I'm giving probably too much too early, but I want to tell you, because this is really important. Like, the cannabis industry has been blossoming over time. And so it's been like up and down, up and down, up and down. And so my job board was kind of moving with the environment, and then COVID hit. And cannabis employers started calling me from everywhere. We need delivery drivers. We need bud tenders. Because like everything was, the only thing was open was like the grocery store, Walmart, the liquor store, and your cannabis shop, right? And my technology was not working. And I was working on my Reskillify product platform, and the phones were going like crazy. So I asked my developer, do we have anybody else on the team that can help us redefine what we want the Cannabis Job Boards to look like? And we did, and we started to build out this engine that's absolutely phenomenal. And initially we wanted to mirror the Cannabis Job Board to some degree as an Indeed for the cannabis industry, but it has gone far beyond that, where we become more integrated into the hiring process. We utilize artificial intelligence. Everything is mobile for both the employer and the candidate. So it's just gotten really intense, and I'm really excited to be a part of this industry during a time where everything is shifting, changing, and moving. I'm going to take it way back for you to understand how I got here. So first, I was born in Baltimore, okay, in the 70s. So during a time where things were definitely different than where they are now. By the time I was 8, I had been raped for the first time, okay? So by my babysitter, and had already experienced being touched by my stepfather. I became a runaway for a while, where I kept running away from my mom because it was just a lot of things going on. I felt like she didn't have the ability to handle at that time. We moved away. I kept running away. And my life just kept getting more intense and intense over time. And by the time I was 11, I was pregnant, right? And had my first child when I was 12, okay? So I was raped and had my baby. I decided to keep the baby. And then I was pregnant again when I was 15, moved out and got my own place in Baltimore and raised my 2 children. That was the start of my journey. Around there, I was on welfare, and I was literally living in a rat-infested house on the 3rd floor with no refrigerator, no stove, a newborn baby, and a toddler. And I was 16, and I was trying to figure out what was for me, who I was, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. A few things happened in a very short period of time. I told you I didn't have any bottles. I didn't have any a refrigerator or stove. So I would take my son's bottle. So first of all, when my youngest son was born, he was 1 pound, 13 ounces. So by the time I brought him home to our new apartment, he was 4 pounds. So he was still very young. He couldn't walk. He was mature in looks, but tiny in body, like really, really tiny. So I didn't get a chance to breastfeed. So anyway, I'm in my place. I'm excited that I'm in my own place, even though everybody else around me is cringing. I'm excited. But I don't have all the necessary tools because the guy who I rented the apartment from was a slumlord. I mean, he's renting out an apartment to a 15-year-old little girl, 16-year-old little girl, right? So no refrigerator, no stove. So I was taking the bottles, and to warm the bottles up, I would put them in bowls and put them in water so I can warm the bottles up to feed the baby. And then I would take them and put them out on the fire escape in the snow so they would stay cold. Okay.
Wow.
I mean, that's very smart. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
So this particular night, I was asleep, and my baby was so little that I could not put him in the bed with me. I didn't want to put him in the crib. He was so tiny. He was very tiny. So he slept in a car seat. And that way you can put the cushions around and what have you. So he slept next to me, and I was on the floor. And I remember, like how I'm talking to you all, I was dreaming. And in my dream, I was looking at myself and I was saying, wake up, wake up. And I was shaking myself, wake up. And I kept saying, Kitty, wake up, wake up. And I said, wake up. And she said, wake up. I'm screaming at this point, like screaming and pushing myself in this dream. And when I woke up and I said, wake up, there was a rat sitting on me.
Oh.
And I said, and I threw it. And when I looked to my left, it was one sitting on my baby. I was like, wow, I slapped the rat off my baby, and I cried so hard this night. Like, I just could not get myself together. And I said, something's got to change. Something's got to change, okay? I'm just giving you just like pieces so you can see how I got here. Very shortly after, around this time, my all of these things kind of happened within a very short period of time. My sons woke up in the middle of the night crying. My baby woke up in the middle of the night crying. This is all in like the same week or so, month maybe. And he starts crying, and I go out to the fire escape to go get the milk. And I go put my hand out there, and as nothing, I don't feel anything. So I stick my head out and look, and all his bottles have been broken into. Rats were literally broke the milk bottles and drank all my baby's milk. And I had no money. I had nothing. And I cried my eyes out. I called my cousins who lived 2-3 blocks away. They said not a big deal. It was a snowstorm in Baltimore. They walked like 1.5 miles to 7-Eleven, got some Similac, walked back to my house, consoled me for a little bit. I asked them to leave, and I said, something's got to change. So it was circumstances, things like that at that point in my life that really made me start thinking about, like, who am I? Who am I going to be? What am I going to do? Is this going to be my story? Are these going to be my kids' story? Is there more to me? Because everybody around me was telling me I wasn't great. I was bad. I didn't really share my story. People had already had an idea in their mind of who I was and what I was doing, and it wasn't true at all. And so since they had already created a narrative for me, I allowed them to think that when it wasn't true. So they would say things to me like, you ain't gonna be ish. You're gonna be a baby daddy, a baby mama with 6 kids by 6 different men with gold teeth, the Baltimore thing. Like, they had already pretty much told me who I was gonna be. And I was like literally fighting, trying to figure out whether or not I was supposed to listen to their story or whether I needed to create my own. Things continued to happen to me. I started to see that there are a lot of very bad people out there who are definitely not down for helping me at all, and that are looking to take from me and tear me down. But every now and then, God, the universe, whatever you want to believe, showed me that there are people out there that will look beyond what they see physically, and they will connect with you as a human being, as a soul, and they will give from their heart because they see that you deserve it and they know you're going to do something with it. And I also got to have those experiences. So when I decided I don't want to be on welfare anymore, whoever these people are driving down the street in these nice cars, what are they doing? What did they do to get there? How do I get off of welfare? So I went to my family. I said, okay, I'm getting off welfare. They was like, what? that sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
I said, no, I want to get off of welfare. I want to go get a job. I want to get off of welfare, and I'm going to like figure this thing out. And they was like, why would you do that when they're giving you the money? They're doing everything. You're getting everything. And I just felt like I needed so much more. So I knew then I didn't have a lot of support there. But I had 2 cousins that was down for it. And so they said, we heard about something. You want to come down? I said, sure. I came down. They didn't get the job. I did. That was at a hotel, right? I didn't stay there long, but it was my first taste of getting off of welfare and doing something with myself. And in my spare time, I would take my kids on the bus, 40 minutes up to Towson, go to the library and teach myself how to use Microsoft. Because I was going to the temp agencies, which is the work that I do now, believe it or not. But I was going to temp agencies trying to get a receptionist job or an admin job so that I could make more money. And so, I was doing this, but every time I would go to take the test, I would fail. I would fail every time. So I kept going to the library, taking my kids. I was practicing. And one day the librarian was like, my kids I didn't have money a lot. So my kids were crying, my son, my baby, and the lady came up to me, the librarian. She's like, are these your kids? And I was like, yeah. She's like, how old are you? And I was like, 16, She's like, what are you doing here? Where are your parents? I don't have any parents right now. And she just like, when's the last time you fed these kids? And I was like, earlier. So I saw what she was doing and I said, okay, she's going to try to take my babies, And so she went in the back, got my kids some crackers or something. She asked me more questions and then told me come back tomorrow and bring the kids. I was thinking, ain't no way in heck. I got on that bus. I was sweating. I was like,
Kind of private eye?
Back. She's gonna take my babies. I slept on it, woke up the next morning, and I went back and took my babies. And when I got to the library at Towson State University, they had a play area set up for my boys. Oh. And they took my boys over there, and the librarian, sat with me every day that I came up there, worked with me, helped me learn Microsoft. I would go back down, take my test at the temp agency, come back, be like, didn't do it. Like, okay, what you with? Then we'd practice some more and go back until I actually was able to pass with flying colors. I was able to get a job, and that was my first time working with a temp agency, but I was working big time, I was like, I was making more money. And it was like, it was a change. It was a shift. So and that was kind of the start of me moving out of my old thinking and my old mindset into a newer mindset and starting to look at corporate America as an opportunity for me to establish myself. And I will say that I have so many stories I could tell you. I could keep you all here for days, but my life went up and down in like a roller coaster from that point forward in ways that I can't even explain to you. But I'll fast forward to many years later. I wanted you to know that story so you'll understand. As I've gone through my career, I've always been really good at what I do. I'm an amazing recruiter. I do an amazing job finding talent that most people can't, and I can match them up really well. And so I became a value asset in the recruiting and staffing industry. Life forces you to do different things. And when people begin to not appreciate you and they don't see the value in you and what you can bring to the table, you begin to value yourself differently. And I felt over time that I had been through so much and I worked so hard to create this different version of myself that was different than the story that I was maybe supposed to have or that people had created for me. I just felt like it was so much more for me to do. So I stepped out and I started my own business. That caused a divorce. It helped it. Not caused it, but helped it. It caused a move. It caused me to lose everything. It caused me to fail and go back to work. I went back to work depressed for about a year, maybe 2. One day I made a decision that I wanted to leave. And my boss was so condescending, like, so what are you going to do if you leave? Why don't you just go head back to your desk? Let's act like we never had this conversation. Sit down and do what you do best. We don't play them games. And he said, well, what are you going to do? And I said, I don't know, maybe I'll go start my own staffing company or my own coaching company and teach people how to be better than how I'm being treated now. And he laughed, and it was the most disgusting laugh ever. But it was one of, get the hell out of here. That you know clearly that's not going to happen. And I don't know, that lit something in me. It changed the direction of my life, because it made me feel like, who are you to tell me what I can't accomplish? You don't even know anything about me. You don't know my life story. You don't know what I've been through. You don't know what I've overcome. And you definitely don't know what I have the ability to do, clearly. Because if you did, you would be trying to find other ways to keep me rather than to tear me down to keep, right? So I quit without a car that day, without nothing. I quit, woke up the next morning and started this journey. And I started my business, and I started really taking that entrepreneurial journey really seriously. Got cancer in 2013, so I thought I was gonna have to close my doors. They told me I had 3 months to live, so it was on. The intensity was on. And in that 3-month time period, I had to use cannabis, amongst other things. And shifting your mindset is not something that's so easy to do. But when you're forced to decide, do I want to live or do I want to die, right? And if I'm going to live, what do I want to do with the work that I'm doing here? And if I'm going to leave here, what have I done to ensure that I'm leaving a legacy? You begin to see things so differently. So I decided to live, regardless of what the doctor said. And while I was on my deathbed, and it was 3 months, I built what people see now, my empire. Right? I started to build my empire step by step. And cannabis was a part of that. It was a major part of my journey. Sativas helped me build this empire. I would say that proudly. The work that I did with reprogramming my mind and building my empire with the assistance of sativa has been nothing more than amazing. It was a major help in my healing journey as well. It really fueled me in a totally different way. So now I live with even more purpose than I did before I even had cancer. I was living with purpose then, but now I live with purpose in a totally different way. And entrepreneurship to me is not just something that I do to make money. I get to make great money because of the work that I do, but it's something that I do because I feel that I have something to say. I feel that I have more to give. I feel that I can't leave here without ensuring that other people understand what they have the ability to do and how they can do it no matter how hard it is. I'm a brand strategist. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm an author. I'm a podcast host. I can go on. I'm a music producer. A lot of people don't know that, right? I do a lot of different things, but all of those things are about leaving my legacy and making sure that I can support somebody else when they're on their journey, and not just their entrepreneurial journey, their career journey, their life journey, all of that. So that was a long answer.
That was great.
But I think I had to give it to you in order for you to understand the value of that.
No, thank you. By sharing your story, you're helping so many others see maybe that they were in one of your previous situations. They can see themselves out of it, being like I can relate to seeing a nice car and a guy driving and being like, how who does this guy know? The theme between all of our guests today is courage. People can't save themselves if they're drowning. For example, when you were in the library, the librarian took notice, and you took courage to take that offer. Hey, look where you're at now. It's just a ripple effect after ripple effect, and you're creating some great ones. So thank you.